Today, a guilty verdict on all 63 felony counts, including federal hate crime charges, for the man who killed 11 worshipers and injured 7 others at Pittsburgh's Tree of Life synagogue in 2018. It was the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history. Prosecutors for the Justice Department are seeking the death penalty. The verdict comes at the peak of Pride Month and just before Juneteenth, celebrations that honor inclusion and our country's diversity. But this year they coincide with a growing prevalence of targeted violence fueled by hate and nationwide days of coordinated action by neo-Nazi organizations. The next one, our guest warns us, is tomorrow. Joining our conversation, Christopher Goldsmith, an Iraq war veteran who now tracks the right-wing extremist threat. Frank, Paul, and Donna are all back with us. Chris, tell us what you're tracking and what you're seeing.
So there's a bunch of groups, white supremacists, neo-Nazis around the country and around the world that set out a yearly calendar. And once a month, they go out and they do these flash mob style events all on the same day together to try and do like a shock and awe campaign to get local press, to get national press, not just to show that they're out there and that they're active and to try and recruit new members, but also to intimidate not just the communities that they're in, but more broadly, all across the United States, vulnerable communities, whether it's the LGBTQ community or the Black community, who will be celebrating Juneteenth and Pride this weekend. But they're also they're looking to make young men, young white men who are going down that radicalization pipeline look like it's okay to go out and hit the streets to try and encourage hate. And what we've seen from history is that what starts with bigoted language and turns into bigoted action turns into bigoted murder. And the synagogue shooter that was just found guilty is a prime example of this. The last thing that he did was he posted on Gab, which is a neo-Nazi internet platform that's run right in Pennsylvania, posted that he was going to go in and murder a bunch of people because that's the platform where he was radicalized. So this is a monthly campaign. What I want for folks to do is don't freak out. Right? When you see these people show up at your events, your natural inclination is going to be take out your camera, you're going to video record it, maybe live stream it. That sometimes helps these neo-Nazi organizations spread their propaganda, spread that fear. Instead, folks who are prepared for this, take out that same camera and take still photos. Do what you can to safely, as long as you're not alone, take photos of the faces, even if they're masked, of their torso and of their legs. Because teams like mine and anonymous folks on Twitter who are into open source intelligence can use those photos to identify those masked assailants so that we can hold them responsible. Also, if you're holding a Pride event or a Juneteenth event this weekend and you expect these people to show up at your event, talk to law enforcement now. Establish a relationship. If you know the bad actors in your neighborhood, you can talk to the police, get a no trespass order to protect private property. If they step across that line, that's a misdemeanor. And now you've got them unmasked in cuffs and into the criminal justice system.
Chris, where is the line between what you describe as flash mob, sort of planned out in the open with the aims that you describe, and a subset, if you will, that is prone to or interested in violence? And do we know where the line is?
There is no line. It's a pipeline. So I'll tell you an example of a big fan of Patriot Front, a neo-Nazi organization that I've infiltrated with my team several times over, exposed their members, provided evidence of their criminal behavior to law enforcement, et cetera. A big fan of theirs, some older guy down in North Carolina, decided to show up at my mother's house to drop off a death threat, right? He had never done anything, to my knowledge, in the real world, as far as approaching someone, choosing a victim, right? Now, with respect to Frank, there's a lot of reticence in the law enforcement to enforce the laws as they're on the books. So when a neo-Nazi went to my mother's house and dropped off a book about a mother who goes missing, with on the front of it a picture of Hitler with Mein Kampf on it, And on the back, it said FBI plus Antifa cooperation. Very clearly a targeted anti-Semitic death threat against me. I told the FBI. The FBI went and talked to him. They came back to me. They said, don't worry, we talked to him. Nothing's going to happen. That same day, that same neo-Nazi took that FBI agent's business card and mailed it to my home with another anti-Semitic death threat to New York. There are so many felonies. I'm sure that Frank could probably list all of them off for you. Has the FBI done anything? No. Law enforcement press charges at the local level for one count of stalking. And the Madison County Courthouse in North Carolina has been like, maybe the ADA has been looking to maybe get rid of this case because it's only a misdemeanor and it's not worth his time, right? But people like Task Force Butler, my organization, we're persistent. We are going to make sure that we hold accountable, not just that neo-Nazi, but the ADA who wants to throw out the misdemeanor charges for a bunch of death threats. Because these types of people who go from online harassment and bravado to in-person showing up at someone's house, they're on that pathway to setting a bomb in somebody's mailbox. And law enforcement needs to start taking threats seriously when they're at that level before people like me end up getting murdered.